Hello, Shroomies, and welcome to another episode of See You on the Other Side. I'm your co-host, Christine, and I'm here with Leah. And today we have Steve Hupp from Kentucky Ayahuasca. Hi, Steve.
Hey everybody, how we doing?
Everyone's doing well, I hope.
So I'm so excited for this. You have no idea. I always give like a little bit of a background of how we came across people. And this was such a random thing because Christine is who usually handles like reaching out to guests. She reached out to me and was like, "You're never going to believe this. I got this guy who does ayahuasca ceremonies here in Kentucky." And I didn't even think twice. I didn't look at the name. I was just like, "Oh, that's awesome." And then my husband and I literally like 2 weeks ago, was it?
Yeah, were you noticed?
We're watching Hulu and this thing pops up and it's Vice and it's Kentucky Ayahuasca. Still thought nothing of it. And I'm like, we should watch this because he and I are we're both being called to do ayahuasca. We've done mushrooms, we've done LSD, and for the past year or so, this has been kind of pulling me in. And I think you probably understand what I'm trying to say by that. Like, it's not speaking to me, but it's speaking to me. And so we watched this episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it does that. So we watched this, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's here in Kentucky. And then the next day, Christine comes over and she's like, "So this shaman, this guy that I'm talking to about having on, she says your name." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, what? Well, what was his name?" She's like, "Steve Hupp." And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me. Like, we didn't even know that you had this show." And I think that that's incredible because I feel like that was just another reason to have you on.
Well, I thank you. It's been a strange and wild ride for us. It really has. We've been doing it now for 20 years. And I kind of still to this day feel like I'm stumbling in the dark. I'm just waiting for the next door to open and take the next step. And that's what I've been doing for 20 years with the medicine. And, I don't want anybody to think that I laid in prison and came up with this master grand plan, because that's not the way it unfolded for us, definitely.
Well,
and
and
just as you described,
go ahead,
please
sorry.
go ahead.
No,
Forgive me.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, as she described, people are called to this, and I was called to it, and as it gradually grew and developed, there was no way I could turn away from it. And please go ahead, Christine.
Well, and thank you for sharing that. So for those who haven't watched the show, your story is incredible. So can you give a little background about, even before ayahuasca and where you were at in your life and then how you found ayahuasca?
Okay. Well, the truth be told, I think ayahuasca found me, but looking back on my life, just about every dark nook and cranny of my life, and trust me, for a period of time, everything in my life was dark. And it was just the way that I lived. It used everything that kind of went against me to get me here where I'm at today. Like, I didn't meet a shaman till I hit federal prison. That was after robbing a lot of banks and doing a lot of criminal stuff for years.
That's crazy.
And then when I met this shaman, okay, I didn't, it wasn't like he had shaman stamped on the back of his prison uniform. He was just a guy in my pod. And, to be honest with you, I was going to rob him. That's why I was getting to know him. I thought he had dope and drugs. So, this is how I got to know Guadalupe. I didn't tell him till later why I chose him to kind of buddy to him. Okay. First of all, he was Peruvian, which meant he was alone. He wasn't ganged up with the Mexicans. He was all by himself. And in prison, you're prey when you're alone. And so that kind of got me, that's what got my first attention. I really did. I thought he had a stash of pills or something because he was so calm. And long story short, I don't want people to think that we built a matchstick fire in a 2-man cell and he told me the meaning of life. That ain't how it broke down at all. We didn't have ayahuasca there. He told me about it a couple of times, and he didn't even spend that much time on topic because I'm kind of looking at him like he was weird, Oh, what, Loopy? What kind of shit are you talking? I mean, that's how I was coming at him. And long story short, we got to be kind of friends. We walked the track together a lot and, kind of spoke. Well, he gave me his sister's address to when he was leaving prison because he left before I was. He was in there because he overstayed a visa and got caught. And he was border jumping. And at the time, they kept you in federal prison before they deported you. That's how they were trying to, tamp down the border jumping at the border. Well, long story short, I got out a year or two later. After I got out, I'm still on probation. I'm still got a lot of paper tigers chewing at my butt from the feds. Well, I mailed his. I don't know why I did it. I'll be honest with you. You meet a lot of people in prison. Oh, dude, mail me when you get out. Well, let me tell you, you never hear from none of them. Okay. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
When did you get
very
out?
Rarely. I got out back in 2003.
Okay.
2003. And I mailed the address he gave me, and out of the blue one day, months later, I get a 2-liter bottle, and he got it into the country because he marked it dog shampoo. And, that's what I started with, I went, and I'm a devout atheist. Okay. I want to tell you where I'm at in my life. I'm 38 years old then. I'm 57 now, but I'm at 38. I'm a devout atheist, and I'd been an atheist my whole life. None of the church shit ever jived with me. My older sister, she drugged me to every church there was, trying to straighten me up and all the above. But I was a devout atheist, and I had done acid since I was 13 years old. I had done psychedelics and all that in school. And after every trip, I was still Steve. I was still an atheist. But when it came to this ayahuasca, I went into my garage with this 2-liter bottle. I want you to know I nothing. I don't even know what dose to give myself. And I'm scared to ask anybody at this point, because I'm still on paper. The feds have still got time on the shelf on me. So I'm trying to lay low. So I get a coffee cup. I'd heard something about cups. So I get a coffee cup, and I fill that sucker with this thick, gooey ayahuasca that he had sent me. And that's how it started. And I mean, the first few journeys, man, were very introspective and painful. I had to come to terms with a lot of shit. I had to come to terms how I had arrived at this point in my life, what got me here and all the above. And I had to start working on all that anger and hatred that I'd accumulated in prison, because prison's a very microscopic environment. And, it conditions you to start immediately thinking certain ways. And so I had to start breaking that down. Long story short, I'm still transforming. Okay. It's never over. That's what I tell people in my ceremonies to this day. Okay. You're never done. When you're done, you're dead. Okay. And that's just the way you should approach your life. You're never done until you're dead. And I'm not done to this day. No one is, but let me tell you, I progressed and I got better. I have to thank my government, even though I'm not always a fan of my government. Okay. They allow us to exist. All right. Because if the government didn't want us here, trust me, they would crush me like a bug. Because I'm out there on international TV. I've done a lot of interviews, much like this one, Psychedelic Today, all over the place. I guarantee it, they know I exist and what I do and how I do it and who I do it for. I'm also ex-military. So, the military holds a special place in my heart. I work with a lot of soldiers, and I also work with them, if they need it, I give them breaks. We do pro bono ceremonies. We don't advertise it, but, if you present me enough evidence that you're in a hard spot and you really need this help and you're really sincere, yeah, we'll work with you, definitely. We'll try to get you some help in some way, shape, or form. And I couldn't have done this without being a criminal. I'll be honest with you. And I really do believe that's one of the reasons the medicine chose me. You know, in a journey one time, Mother Aya came to me and she was like, "Get me out of the jungle. That's your mandate from me. Get me out of the jungle."
Wow.
And that is what I've been working on ever since. And that's why we've deconstructed it. You know, if you check our website, ayaquest.com, we tell you right there, we don't do traditional ceremonies. We don't recreate Peru. We've redesigned this for us here in America, you know, things that we go through, the conditioning, the school, the culture, you know, industrialization. Those are things that sometimes a traditional Peruvian or Brazilian or Colombian shaman is not going to be able to help you with, because to understand it, you have to live it. Just like I couldn't help you stay alive in the Amazon, because I've never lived in the Amazon jungle. Yeah, I can read about it, I can tell you about it, but I'm really not going to be of any assistance to you there. Does that make any kind of sense?
Oh, absolutely.
I've literally never thought of it that way. And in one of our episodes, when I was talking about being called to do it, I felt like a little bit of a poser. And I said that because I said I was looking into places here in Kentucky, but I felt bad for not doing it in Peru or Costa Rica. But I think what you're saying, you're exactly right. This is it's not a one size fits all medicine. And our society has taught us one way, and it's not necessary. That's what needs to be deconstructed and broken down, is what's hurting us. And what's hurting us here isn't necessarily what's hurting Peruvians or people who are in Costa Rica. We have a very different hurt, if that makes any sense.
Well, and when I emailed you, I had said that, like, I wanted to be conscious of that, and you corrected me in that email. So
I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
It's kind of given me a different perspective.
And another thing I hope people remember out here, that word ayahuasca is really a meaningless word, okay? Because every shaman brews their own brew, their own way, under their own protocols. So it would be like me inviting you over for a beer and a sandwich. All right, you don't even know if you're going to have alcohol or meat, because in that word, beer and sandwich, you form an idea in your head, just like we do with ayahuasca. And we think when we say ayahuasca, we've really described, you know, what we're talking about. But the reality of it is every brew is different. You know, there's 400 different beers, but not all of them are brewed with the same ingredients and have the same alcohol content or have the same effects on people. Right. And that's what you got to remember with that word ayahuasca, you know, as you're talking to people or getting it out there, that it is really a very vague term that describes a lot of different brews.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone? I mean, we're in this space, so we know probably a little bit more than the average housewife would know with
right.
what ayahuasca is, because my understanding is very minimal, but I know that it has DMT in it, and I know that it's not, but I also know that it's not the same type of experience.
Correct. What I would equate it to is this. Okay, I look at ayahuasca or Kentucky ayahuasca, whatever you want to phrase it, as a molecular portal to a completely another realm, not only within yourself, but in the Netherlands, if you will. I don't know what else to call it, you know, and Mother Aya is just one of many entities, and many different entities can come through, many different types of feelings, because it's something that no words can describe accurately. You know, when I first started, you don't know how long I sat in a blank room trying to think, well, how am I going to sell this shit? Hey, dude, it's going to make you puke and shit, and, you know, it's going to scare the living fuck out of you, you know, I mean, and you might not never be the same. Oh, my God, you know, I mean.
Sounds great.
You know, that's a hell of a pitch, especially on the internet, especially through a website, you know. You don't even have personal interaction to work with. But then that's where we come back to what you had spoken about, Leah, and that is people are called to this. We create avenues to what we do. And the people who are called, you can't stop them from getting here. And the tire kickers who ain't quite ready, I'm glad they take a step back. Take your time. You got the rest of your life. But man, so many beautiful things is happening in our world, and they're not really being caught on the news with all the doom and gloom, because that's what sells a lot of quick ads. But the reality of it is, man, nothing's changed. Adapt or die. That's the only thing you can do in this life, and that was the only thing you were born with. Adapt or die.
I love that. And for those who haven't watched the show, this is a family affair. So you do this with your wife, Terry, and your stepson, Nick, right?
Yes.
And that's crazy.
Yeah, Nick's kind of taken a back seat. Nick's kind of taken a little bit of a step back from it for a while. He's been with us, man, since a teenager. I can't imagine growing up like Nick, I mean, when I first started, this wasn't done in a building on Front Street with our flag hanging out front. I was working out of motel rooms and campgrounds. I was drawing in people that, to be honest with you, is a harsh and brutal thing to say, but when I first started brewing, I would only work with hardcore drug addicts, and the reason was, if I killed them, no one cared, because they were already on death's door. Because I didn't know. Brew, no one could teach me how to brew. I had to read a little bit. I learned to go through court cases and pick and choose and all the above, but I was experimenting until we got our brew down, suppliers down, and our consistency. But in the beginning, it was the Wild West. I can't tell you. I got some crazy stories of individual experiences out there. But, that's how we learned.
Yeah, and so with that, if you were working with, all addicts, how did that go?
At times I had some scary moments, because sometimes people get into the journey and I can be what they hate just as much as I can be what they love. Like if they get into a psychotic episode in the journey, I had one gentleman, he thought I was Satan and he was going to kill Satan. And, fortunately, I've been a lot of places and I know how to take care of myself. But it was some of it was hectic times. Others, it was beautiful. That's what kept me going. Months later, I started getting emails and letters. Dude, you saved my life. I can't begin to tell you, I'm with my family now. I've rebuilt my life. I got a job. Everything is going great. And these letters kept coming back and these emails. And pretty soon I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, I can't quit. Even though at times I'm scared. You got to realize, to the government, I'm Charles Manson, okay? And I'm playing with people out here with psychedelics, which the last time a convict and psychedelics and regular people interacted, it didn't turn out good, okay? So, you're
not wrong.
And that's the reality of it, and so that's why I said the government allowed us to exist. I don't want anybody thinking out there that I feel that I beat the government at their own game, because I don't feel that way. I feel that I'm very fortunate to be in America, where even though this isn't something that we would call normal by any means, they were looking at the results and they allowed us to continue.
I love that. You're talking about how there's a lot of purging. You puke, you shit your pants. And what's interesting, you say that to people and that's what they hear on reality TV or on, I don't know where I've seen it. What's that? Chelsea Handler. She does it and she puked and hated it and was like, I don't remember exactly what she was saying, but I have a psychiatrist who is very well versed in psychedelics and has done so many ayahuasca ceremonies and kind of dabbles in a lot of things. And he and I were talking about it, and I said, I'm not afraid of purging. And I've done mushrooms enough to know that once that ego is gone, I'm just there. And I don't care what anybody else is thinking about me. I don't care about purging. And I've also had 3 children. So I'm I've crapped on the table giving birth, but what I know is that on the other side of it was something so beautiful that it was worth every shit. So I am not afraid of purging.
And that's beautiful coming into it. But our experience has been, while, yeah, puking and shitting gets the biggest press, it's the aha, oh my God. But it's really purging. There's lots of different ways that I've seen purges. I've seen people laugh through the whole ceremony, and that was just as big a purge as vomiting or shitting. I've seen some people cry. I've seen them do it all. But very rarely, I mean, I can count probably out of thousands of ceremonies, maybe 15 people that actually shit themselves.
Good to know.
It just depends on where the bathroom is, and that's what we, kind of take into account on our ceremonies. Our bathroom is real close to the ceremonial room, and we tell everybody going in, the number one rule of our ceremony, don't trust a fart.
Never trust a fart, because it could be a shart or a full-on shit.
I have never
Steve,
wanted to do.
awesome.
I've never wanted to do ayahuasca more, honestly.
And with you.
Yes. So this is just another comparison that I've heard, and I'm saying all of this because I've never done it. So I just want people to know I have no knowledge of this outside of speaking to you in my own research, but. Mushrooms is a very introspective thing for me. It's a lot of going into myself, and it's very lonely, but comforting, if that makes any sense. Like, it's not about anybody else. It's not about anyone else helping me. It's about me helping myself. I have a lot of mother wounds, and I have heard ayahuasca called Mother Aya. It's a female energy. It's a female medicine. And I have heard that that she comes in and she's there with you through your experience. And part of me wanting to heal that inner child that is trying to fix these mother wounds, I'm like, you know what? It would be really nice to have a mother with me while I do something like that. And I feel like that's why I keep wanting to go to it. Is that something that you've heard, or that you've experienced or seen, or?
Oh, absolutely. I've experienced it firsthand. Me and Mother Aya, I talk to her just like I talk to you, in my head, in my heart. And now they're with me all the time. This ain't something I have to drink ayahuasca. I don't journey without ayahuasca, but they're always around us. We just have to believe. And one thing I want to touch base on, really, especially for your listeners, from our perspective and what we have learned, we don't subscribe to ego death, okay? Because the ego is your first self, and you never want to kill a piece of yourself. We subscribe to ego transition. Through trust and teaching your ego trust in the world, your ego matures just as you did, as you learned to trust the world, as you learn to progress. And then, because your whole experience here is about becoming whole, not dissecting yourself and living a compartmentalized life. That's what serial killers do. If you want to become a whole human being, you want to become, accept every part of yourself and forgive every part of yourself through this process and through your inner talk and your self-talk. We give much more than just ayahuasca. All of it comes together in a synergy. And everybody on my team, I call them my junkyard dogs, because we all are junkyard dogs, every one of us. We didn't read about failure, we lived it at its most granular level. And not only did we live it, we overcame it. And we all built back our lives and built the life that we deserved. And it didn't matter. I got members on my team who have been institutionalized for over 15 years, loaded on booty juice, as she called it, in the rubber room, and Mother Aya, and now she's been with us 6 years. Her name is Megan. She's one of my medicine women. And she is doing great. All on her own now. And I couldn't even tell her story correctly. Paige, our other medicine person, she was a horrible heroin addict when I met her, and through Mother, but I want people to understand out there that you're listening in your listening office. This ain't like a lightning bolt, okay? I don't want you to think you're going to drink a couple cups, puke and shit and fart and laugh a few times, and boom, your life is going to get better. No, you got to put the work right in beside the medicine, and it takes time. Time is an element of the recipe of not only recovery, because recovery just gets you back to the point of failure. I want you to have a beautiful life, not just get back to existing, not just get back to, where you were when you fell off the cliff. I want you to build that your own paradise. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? And those are the things that we all had to do.
Yeah. That's beautiful. It's the same that I think is with mushrooms and really any psychedelic, and probably why when you were, a young teenager and doing these psychedelics, nothing was really happening for you in this profound way, because I think intention is important. I think integration is more important. Coming back to real life.
And I did a lot of my first psychedelics in the military.
Ooh.
When I was in the Army, that's where I did a lot of at that age. And, in the military is not exactly the place you're going to grow spiritually, because everywhere you're going, you're practicing to kill them. I mean,
yeah, true. So where do you stand now? Like, are you still, I doubt you're atheist, but what are your beliefs now?
My beliefs is, one, I believe in Mother Ea. Okay, Mother Ea is one of my guiding. She's a guiding goddess. I believe that there is a universal intelligence that we don't understand. About the universe and the world that we live in. I believe in an afterlife that you create through your belief. It's been revealed to me in journeys that the first plane after we leave this planet, this physical realm, is the plane of illusion. And that it's very subjective to your beliefs. That's why Christians see Jesus when they cross, Muslims see Muhammad, whatever your belief. And so, I believe I'm enacting my godhood. This is part of that path, because when I look at all the stars in the universe and how big I can see and know that it's much bigger than any of us can truly envision, what does it need? It probably needs creators, and it probably needs different creators and different types. And so this experience for me, through pain, through growth, through all of it, is about remaining open. That childlike openness to everything, whether you understand it or not.
Wow. I love that.
I have a question from a friend, because she is the one who found you maybe a year ago and sent your information to me. And I never really plugged the two together. It was just, she found it and was like, I thought about doing this. She got some information back. I don't think she ended up joining because she's on some medications and she's a little bit hesitant to come off. She was reading your, the dieta, the protocols for beforehand. And I get that. But I read it and I was like, oh, I'm ready. I can do this now. But we were kind of waiting until I was scared to do it alone. So I'm waiting on, and I realize this is something that I need to work on, is waiting on other people to join me before I do something. I'm having this realization now as I'm saying it. Because even my psychiatrist was like, you don't need anybody. If you're going to do ayahuasca, you need to go and do it for you. You don't need a support system. Mother Aya is going to be there to support you. And I have been just waiting on someone to go with me. So I kept putting it off. And I guess my question is to you, because we have the same type of protocols for mushrooms. You shouldn't be on medications. You have to know your family history. What exactly does that look like for ayahuasca? Medicine-wise, diet-wise, what do people need to work towards?
Okay, on our website, we have a free application. I just want to let people know. And that's your first step with working with us. And it's going to list your medications and all that. It's also there to give you some time to think about why I'm doing this, because those are some of the questions. What are you looking to get out of it? Have you, stuff like that. And what I would tell someone walking up and asking me is, the first thing is SSRIs. What's dangerous in ayahuasca is the MAOI inhibitors that we must use to put the enzymes in your stomach to sleep that kills DMT. You must realize DMT's in everything we eat, in your meat, in your vegetables. And if we didn't have these enzymes, we'd be walking around on a DMT journey every moment of the day. And that is why we have MAOI inhibitors in the brew that puts them to sleep so we can try to get it uptaked into and cross the blood-brain barrier. So with that being said, SSRIs are a no-no. Okay, you take Prozac, for example. That's one that's out there quite a bit. You got to be clean for 45 days from Prozac before you can safely do ayahuasca. Okay, let's say somebody comes in and on their application they're 5'7", but they weigh 385 pounds. All right, well, when we see that, we're going to ask them about their blood pressure, because ayahuasca can spike your blood pressure. And so if we think you may have had heart problems or you do have heart problems, we're going to send you to your doctor to talk to them about it to make sure this is a good fit for you. Okay. You got to be much more hardcore about your safety guidelines with ayahuasca than you do mushrooms, because we also offer mushroom ceremonies. You can get it from us on the website. We'll ship them to you. Since COVID, we've been doing virtual ceremonies, and those work out really well for people. Give them guidance how to set up their space, especially if they're first timers. And of course, we're screening any mushrooms that come through the church, and that's a fun job. But anyway.
I want to apply. Sign me up.
Yeah, exactly. But, those are the main things. Of course, while we're talking with you, we're kind of gauging, where you're at in life. If I suspect you have schizophrenia, I'm probably not going to be able to work with you. And the reason is, in a trip, a schizophrenic can get lost in their psychosis. We accidentally got a schizophrenic in probably about 8 years ago. And at the end of the day, I had to call his people, come up and get him, take him to the hospital to be sedated, because I couldn't get him back. And it was even after the ayahuasca was over, because DMT is out of your system pretty quickly. The rest of it is again, what's been opened up within you, what has touched you while you were in that presence, and how you're working with it as well. You're in a free will universe. And what that means is you can't make your journey happen. You have to allow it to develop, and you have to allow these things to happen, because they have to want to work with you, and you have to be in a place where you want to work with them. So to all you parents out there who think you're going to bring me your 18-year-old kid and drop them at my door and go, they need ayahuasca, because it does happen. I don't know how many people I've had. Yes, I'm not kidding. We get emails every now and then. My son needs this. If I get him there, will you give it to him? No, that ain't how this works, But
I think anyone
it's a wild
trying to ship their child off to do that maybe should take a look at themselves and think, maybe I need to do some ayahuasca.
Well, as you were saying with Mommy Hurts, we're all traumatized by our parents. The first time your mom slapped your hand and told you no, your little subconscious mind immediately identified, woo, this woman could hurt me, and it never crossed your mind before. And you didn't have language to reason. Okay, so that's just one little pocket of poo. That's just 5 seconds of your little life. Now imagine from 1 to 5, before you had language, what was the other little pockets of poo? And how did your subconscious develop paradigms to deal with it and to manipulate the world around you? That's why most of us don't like our immature ego, because all it's learned thus far is manipulation. the first time mama put a nipple in your mouth, whether it was breast or bottle, and you learned to work it and get sustenance, you've been manipulating everything around you ever since. We all have. And that's immaturity.
That's deep.
Never thought about it like that. Holy fuck.
I didn't know we were getting therapy today. God.
Well, forgive me.
Damn, Steve.
I'm also, but this is also what we give in our ceremonies. This is how we set the stage to a better understanding of ourselves and our primal self. I ask in my ceremonies sometimes, I'll say, okay, how well do you know yourself? And every now and then, you always got this idiot who, I know myself the best, I know everything. And the first thing I'll ask him is what's the color of your pancreas? And most of them look just kind of like you all look right there. I don't really know, and I don't want to say anything. But
I don't claim to know everything.
I don't know. Pink.
But anyway, it's golden. So how do you give love to your pancreas if you don't know what it looks like? How do you give love to your liver, the only organ between you and the most toxic environment known to man, which is our modern world? And that's self-love too. That's bringing it right to where you're at physically, and that's part of becoming whole.
Damn.
We need to go.
I know.
So
well, I'm going to make you an offer here.
Oh,
Okay.
shit.
I like you both. You put together one person each to come with you. That'll be 4, because 4 is a nice little group, and we're going to make a time that you can do ayahuasca on me. But you got to promise you're going to report about it.
We will.
And this will be a 3-day, 2-night.
I have a
Can
question.
we record it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as long as everybody is okay with it, I'm cool with it.
Holy fuck.
I mean, I'm gonna probably cry because.
And y'all think about it, and we'll put together a date and time that we can do this, and you can record it, and it'll be a good thing. And trust me, this is the way to really be able to do to really get it out there. Because I can tell you about everybody else's experience, but it's not going to be yours.
Wow. I don't even know what to say.
I don't either. I think, Steve, I know you don't know me very well, but I get very emotional a lot of times. But, I'm just going to say it. Like, my husband's a year sober. He's kind of going through a little bit of an awakening right now. He hasn't done mushrooms in a very long time, but I think that that's kind of how it works. He was an atheist for years and years and years and has just recently come and said, I don't know what I am. And he doesn't feel right in his career, and he's just very stuck. And he came to me a few weeks ago, I feel like even just a week ago, was like, I think I need to do something. I need to do something big, and bigger than mushrooms. And I was like, okay. So I think this is like one of the best gifts. I don't know. I'm like freaking out a little bit because I think this was needed and the timing was perfect. And I'm like, all of these things are aligning, and I'm just slightly freaking out. So,
well, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Anybody you bring, they got to do an application too. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to make you honorary members, and of course,
we're going to do it
we're
today.
going to film it.
Yeah, I'm going to do it today.
Yeah, please do the application today, and then we'll start working together on dates.
Okay.
Well, we're doing it. So
Thank you.
I am like,
And
so grateful.
let me know about. Are you going to have camera people? I mean, if we do 4 people, there's enough room here that we could have a camera person, somebody you all know and trust.
I mean, it's just kind of us. But it's just like we do all the camera and editing and everything, so we can literally just do a tripod. But I mean, I already know I
Ronnie.
would bring my husband with me, like 100%. Like, he needs this more than I've been wanting it, and I've been the one being pulled to it, but part of me feels like I was being pulled to it for him.
Yeah.
Is that weird?
No,
No, none of it's weird. None of it's weird.
not at all.
And don't over process either. Just be. That's the main thing.
How many times do we talk about how much I overthink and over process?
And just let it be what it is.
And let me tell you what really helped me when I was robbing banks and such and in prison to deal with anxiety. Always focus on your breath. Bring your mind to your breath, in and out. Anytime you feel yourself escalating, anytime you feel yourself racing thoughts, because the human brain can only think of one thing at a time. And that's when you give it something to do. And your breath is always with you. And when it ain't, nothing else is going to matter.
You're right. I mean, do you do breath work too?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You are really
We not necessarily in ceremony, but we delve into a lot of things our own personal. Always, sourcing things. I'm open to everything. I don't think anybody has all the answers. I'll be real quick to tell anybody out there, I'm no guru. I'm just a guy who has been doing this a little longer than most. I believe everybody can do what we do. You have the capacity if you choose to go through the moves to get there.
I was very excited to interview you, but I feel like even just talking to you, and that's why I can't wait to meet you in person, because it's everything you say is even more profound than what I was expecting. And even watching your wife, Terry, on the show, she is so motherly and nurturing. And so my question is, when you went into your garage and you did ayahuasca for the first time, because I remember you saying, like, whatever you hear, don't fucking come in here and just let me be. After you did that, was she like on board, or was she like, Steve, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, I have to give Terry a lot of credit because she was really the brave one in all this. I want you to put yourself in her place. She came home one day after work and working 80 hours a week as a restaurant manager. She was my first boss coming out of prison, and she didn't want to hire me. That's where we started.
Really?
Okay, and yeah, she was a manager at Steak and Shake. And fortunately, the general manager at the time had a soft spot for convicts and overruled her and put me on her shift. Okay, and we didn't talk for months. But anyway, now we're together. We're going to jump ahead about a year or so. We're together. We're living together, all the above. And she comes home from work one day after I'd been into the garage. You got to realize she just thought this was another silly shit that I'm doing. I do a lot of crazy shit. And anyway, so she comes home from work and there's plant materials all over the kitchen. The house fucking stinks. I'm trying to figure out how to brew ayahuasca. And I'm looking at her telling her, look, these entities told me we could do this. Okay. Now, I know the PEA may kick in the door at any time, but, they said trust, she married a killer. She fell in love with a killer, and all of a sudden I'm turning kumbaya. So, I can just see, where, her mind is going with this, but she held her breath and held her tongue and gave me my crack at the bat. And I mean, it wasn't an easy thing because I'm meeting people in motel rooms in different cities, at campgrounds. Sometimes they're single females, sometimes they're married couples, but that's how I got going. And she also knows these are drug addicts. She knows these are the lowest of the low. They're one step away from hitting the coffin. And so, she was the one that was really brave because she's never did psychedelics before this. She was not into the drug scene, if you will, as far as that goes. She liked to play with some pills, Dilaudid when she was a kid, but nothing too serious. And, so she was the one this was really a leap of faith. And, it started dawning on her, back to your original question, it wasn't after the first night or that first week. It was about a month later when I was not as angry, when I was having different reactions in traffic, when people cutting me off at the grocery store didn't just piss me the fuck off, and I mean, things like that. It was smaller things, smaller details. And, that's what I tell people leaving the ceremony. Don't try to explain this shit to nobody because they're not going to understand. Words ain't going to be able to convey it. And all they're going to do is rain on your parade because they're going to ask you questions you're not at a place to answer yet. And that's kind of how I was then. I had struggled with it, man. I wasn't sure I was just tripping in the beginning until the same entity started coming back to me and picking up the conversation where we had left off. That's what blew my mind. That's when I had to start looking at atheism more as a childish gesture to get out of trying to figure out the unfigurable. Because that's really what it was. I didn't want to accept that I'm not meant to know everything. Back to that ego transition, back to maturing that ego, to be able to accept that, I'm not smarter than a dog. I just live a different life than a dog, to be able to accept these conundrums, if you will, and to really internalize them and make them a part of you. And that takes time. Time is an element of this recipe. That's why I don't want anybody to think lightning bolts is going to hit you. For the blessed few, it is sometimes that way. It's overnight. It's instant. But they are the few. They're not the many. I'm the many. And the many is it's going to take you time. You're going to have to integrate. You're going to have to accept and allow. We give you some other principles like just is. Those two little words got me through so much shit in prison. Because if you start coming at everything in life, it just is, you're not just it. You're dealing with it. And this is the difference of responding to a thing in life or reacting to a thing in life. And up until ayahuasca, I was basically reacting. I was very reactive because that's what the military teaches you to be, reactive. They don't teach you how to respond. And response is a whole different ballgame.
Wow. This is incredible.
I know.
So you were 38 when you came out of prison.
Yeah, well, about 30, I'd say 38. Off the top of my head, I was probably a little younger, 37, 36 in there.
So I think what a lot of people have a hard time with is starting over, or they feel like it's too late. And I think that is just an incredible showing of it's never too late. It's never too late for anything. Like anybody can change, anybody can turn their life around. And for you, to go from where you were, and it just goes back to that old saying, hurt people, heal people. And you're doing so much work for people who need it. And it's incredible to think about the transformation that's happened from you going from hurting people and doing for you. And, I don't know what all you got into, but robbing banks and now you're helping people heal. And I love though that
for 5 years.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
I robbed banks for 5 years. I robbed 17 banks. That ain't including how many cars I stole. And, I didn't just wake up robbing banks. Okay. I was a criminal pretty much my whole life. But back then you got to realize in the late 70s, early 80s, it wasn't really even considered crime. Back then before DUI laws, it was just a wilder place and a wilder time in America, especially, and I just got caught up into that and it just kept growing. And I had a family, at the time I had 3 biological kids. Me and Terry between us have 6. And, and my mom and dad, I was born late in their life and they were failing. And at the time I was driving semi, so I couldn't take care of my parents and I made a bad choice. I got pissed. I was pissed at my country because I didn't think my mom and dad deserved this in their elderly years of all these prescription bills that they couldn't pay, and all they had was Social Security because they were hardworking people their whole life. My mom and dad never even got a traffic ticket. I'm the one person who cannot blame my upbringing. I can't blame my parents. I can't blame where I lived or the schools I went to. I was just a bad kid. And I picked up quickly the bad things of life, if you will. And I can't tell you that I didn't have a hell of a good time either. And that's the other side of it, if I'm honest with you. And so But this shift that Terry saw, you got to realize she's seen me at my worst, just coming out of prison when I was at my hatefulest and my angriest. And she's seen how all this was being turned around, how I was no longer plotting another heist, that I was throwing away all these letters I'm getting from inmates that had gotten out before me, wanting me to join their gang, wanting me to join them on heist and all the above. And, and she's seen that I was doing this, and then I started putting the info in front of her, and she slowly came on board. But it didn't happen overnight, by no means, and neither did my transformation. I still have days I slip, just like everybody else, man. Life still goes on. Then your conditioning will creep back through, but that's when you got to catch it in that inner dialogue and say, whoa, I'm Steve, you're not about this no more. We're not doing this no more. This ain't fun no more.
And you say actions speak so much louder than words, and I think that that's incredible, because that's sort of what starts the motion for other people to follow along. You don't speak on it, you just do. Yeah. It just is. Yeah. Like what you were saying, it just is.
Yeah.
It just is. And that relieves a lot of frustration, those two little words, and I had to use that in prison. Sometimes a guard would come in, who knows, had a fight with his old lady, and he just decided to take it out on me. Well, I could walk around pissed off and fantasizing I'm going to kill cops and all this, but that ain't helping me get out of this cage. And you know what? I see so many people out here in the free world in worse cages than I was in prison, because they're in the cage of their mind.
Well, and that's what I love about what you do is you've been at rock bottom, and when you started this, you sat with those addicts who so many people probably gave up on them and had no hope for them and thought they were just going to be, continue to be a menace to society, and you saw an opportunity there. And obviously it's up to them to heal, and it's up to them to, to make different changes in their life. But the fact that you held their hand during that is very, very profound.
I think it's incredible.
And sometimes gave them some tough love.
Right.
Sometimes we give tough love,
Absolutely.
And because we've been there, we know when someone's bullshitting us, We know when you're fronting, you're wanting sympathy, because that's how you've gotten through in life. And sometimes that's the last thing that person needs. Their subconscious is opening up to the air, and that's what we're there for. And that's exactly why I like my people to come from real life experiences and failures, because those are the ones that learn the truth.
Yeah.
On your show, we haven't finished all of the episodes because, like I said, we just came across it randomly, and it's still blowing my mind how that happened. But in every episode, and this is what I don't think people realize, are like, I don't need that. I don't need that. There are so many different people who come on, and they all have very different reasons for coming to you. And so I think some of them, depression, anxiety. I think you had someone on who was transgender and having a hard time with her identity and her parents or her mother. And it's
bipolar, military,
like so
vets,
many
PTSD
people that this could help heal. And I don't think that there's anybody that it could not help. That sounds incredible to me, because even though it's not a one size fits all, it's almost like, but this could help you.
It's amazing. And let me give you a little background on that show. We let the producers choose the people because it was a documentary. It wasn't just a show, it was a documentary. And so one of the agreements I made was we would medically clear the people through our church, but the producers could pick and choose. That way they knew I wasn't stacking deck, that I wasn't having members apply who would fake it and all the above.
Oh, that's
so those
even
were
cooler.
Very real people. Yeah, very real people. And we didn't even meet them until the first ceremony. I didn't want no contact, no anything until the first ceremony.
And what's so amazing about you and Terry is how you were able to read people. Like, I can tell she has so much going on in her head. She can't get out of her own mind. And I can tell she's holding back. And I can tell he's doing this. And, you know, there was a scene where, this man who had an abusive father, and you guys just went outside and he just screamed, just kept screaming. And that's another way of purging. He was letting it out. And all of these different stories, and, you know, someone who's a sex addict, and someone who, you know, is just struggles with depression and has very, very low self-worth. They had all of these different things. But the way that you guys were able to kind of just read their body language and
individualize it.
Yeah, and you just, everyone needed something different. But you guys were a very good team of knowing what it was that person kind of needed to catapult them into a new trajectory.
Well, the entities also give us impressions while we're doing it, okay? We're receiving information not only physically in front of us, but spiritually as well, you know? And that's what it is, impressions. I don't want, you know, I describe it like we talk, but it's not really talking. You know, we're communicating, but we're not talking. It's vibrational, you know, but it's no different than breathing. We all can do it. You just kind of focus on it and believe that you can do it. That's the number one thing in this whole realm. What do you believe? And you know what's kind of scary? All of us leave alone. So, you know, that's why we really need to focus on building ourselves. You're
right. We're born and we die alone. That's crazy.
Yep. And there's no way around it.
No.
And the only thing we're going to carry to the next realm, what do you believe? Not what you think, not what you've been told, not what you read. What do you believe?
Wow.
We had church.
I feel like I am in a therapy session right now.
You didn't know what you were getting yourself into.
Not at all.
No idea.
And never would I have thought that I would be getting, 6 months ago. I did my first mushroom trip 6 months ago, and I haven't done anything since. Never could you have told me, and I would have believed you, that an ex-convict would be like preaching some of the most profound things that I feel like I've ever heard in my life. But here we are.
Welcome to this world.
I know, but I love it. And I think, yeah, it's fucking beautiful.
I love it.
Like I said, get your dates ready, because the next show we do about will be your ceremony.
I'm loving it.
And we can film it here. And, you got the perfect opportunity. You're only an hour and a half away.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, so that's another good thing to share. You're in Campbellsville, Kentucky.
Right now, we're in Greensburg, right next to Campbellsville.
Okay. Good. And we have somebody to film it.
Yeah, we do. I'll reach out. So I guess leave our listeners and our watchers, I guess now that we have a YouTube, with some information, how to reach out, how to find you, and how to go about maybe scheduling something.
Okay, we're real easy to find. You can Google Kentucky Ayahuasca, and it's all about us. Our website is ayaquest.com, and the first 3 steps are right on the landing page, right at the top. It's real simple, and the first step is the application. It's free. Take a minute. You submit it right on the website. It'll take us about anywhere from 3 to 5 business days to get back with you on the email on that application, and from there we'll give you guidance if you need medical clearance or if you need some things to think about, that we need to straighten up before you can safely do it. And then after that, you get your membership. And the membership is a lifetime membership, $200. We have to do it. It proves your sincerity of beliefs so that you are really religiously protected to work with our substances. And then after that, a 3-day, 2-night ceremony, 2 ceremonies, including Sananga eye drops from the Amazon, which helps intensify your visions tremendously. On the second night is $800, and lodging is included. You can stay right here at the church. And we do small groups since COVID. We do up to 6 people only. We have the room partitioned where that way people aren't spitting on you or coughing or hacking on you. And if you need to, we also do private ceremonies, like for one person, but you got to pay the full 6 people pop because I got to have my medicine people here. Everything's the same to me, whether I do 1 or 6. So, but you can't have private ceremonies where if you don't want to be in front of people, or we think it's not a good fit, like you have anxiety that's debilitating, or you come from sexual trauma where you're worried about other people being in the room while you sleep, then we do have that option. And we also work with mushrooms, and we do ship ayahuasca after you've been approved. So if gas prices are too much, we also ship mushrooms to do a virtual mushroom ceremony. We use Zoom to kind of guide you on helping you set up your space. If you're doing ayahuasca at home, we work with your sitter. We do not require it, but we strongly recommend on your first couple journeys to have a sitter with you, that you can trust and rely on. And the other side is don't drive. No, put them car keys up, give them to your sitter, so that way you don't think you can around the streets. But we have a lot working. We work with also getting ready to bring in Bufo, which is 5-MeO-DMT, and that's from the frog venom.
That's the toad.
And yeah, so we got a lot to work with here.
Wow.
That is on my bucket list. I know I probably sound a little crazy because I'm like, I want to do that and I want to do that and I want to do that. But Christine and I have found out through our human design charts that we're both experimenters. And so we like to try things and then we talk about them.
YOLO.
Right? You only live once. So where people are usually afraid of things, I'm like, I want to try it. Why not? Like if it's not going to kill me and if I'm going to learn something from it and if it's going to be a beautiful experience, like I am not hesitant or afraid to do so. Oh, I am excited about Toad.
I'm very.
You got to keep us posted on that.
Well, we will have it in. It's coming in here soon. We just made another order, and so like I said, get with your calendars, get with your people, get back with.
Oh, I am emailing you, Steve.
We will
for sure. We will get on this, and I would love to record it.
Yeah.
And be the guinea pigs for our listeners.
And you all are good. We'll schedule something outdoors later. That'll give us something even different to film and do a show on as well.
Love that.
You and your wife are doing some really incredible things in the world. So I appreciate the work that you're doing.
And we very, very much appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for allowing our listeners to be part of this. And hopefully we've got some people coming at you because I know that they need it, and giving them a place close to home. So I appreciate it so much.
And thank you for being so kind in person. Like, you are very incredible to talk to. So
we're 3 best friends now.
Well, thank you. Exactly. That's what we do, man. We go around making more Bay friends.
Yes. So if
we change this country, we change the world. Remember that. If we change this country, we change the world.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Steve. And we will see you guys
You're welcome. Thank you.
on the other side.